The history of the Clayton Silver Mine in Custer County in central Idaho is as fascinating as any story about old historic mines in the United States. It's been a central piece of that part of Idaho for over 100 years. Exploration and production even started in the late 1800s and continued into the early 1900s. What's really interesting is that in the early 1900s, Henry Ford owned the patented claims that CMX now owns, and that was for the lead. The mine itself operated sporadically until probably the 1930s, when it did operate more steadily, although most of the consistent mining was between 1950s and into the 1980s when it shut down. Really not because of anything other than metal prices fell and costs were high. It was going to be restarted, but that never happened. So what really attracted us and CMX to this opportunity was that the mine was never mined out. The ore bodies are partially mined on the south and the north, and there's just tremendous opportunity. So it's not really an exploration project at all. It's really more a development type of project. One of the big attractions of the Clayton Silver property to us was the production that has come out of it. From the historic records, we have been able to determine that a significant amount of silver and other metals was produced from this mine. Predominantly it was silver. About 60% of the historic production was silver. At a silver price of $30 US per ounce, we believe that the historic production in present value terms was about $350 million. However, we do think that a lot of production was not recorded, particularly in the early days when this mine started operating in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and prior to it becoming very active and consistently mines between 1950s and the 1980s. So there's probably $500 million of production at today's prices that came out of that mine. So what makes that so exciting for CMX is that this production came from basically following veins. And there was very little additional drilling done, very little exploration done. And what that means is that there's so much opportunity to find more resources on this property through drilling. We do know from the records that the two ore bodies, we call this one the south ore body and the north ore body, we do know that those were not mined out. There were gaps in how it was mined. So we know that that's there on a low risk basis, and we also believe that if we drill around those ore bodies, we have a very, very good chance of adding significant upside to this property. We have a very strong land position on the Silver Project. We hold a total of 1,028 acres, covering the old mine and with new unpatented claims on Bureau of Land Management lands. The original mine and the old mine workings are located on 562 acres of patented mining claims. The beauty of the patented claims is that we own the surface and we own everything to depth. We don't need to get permits to do drilling, so we can move quickly when we're in a position to do so. Based on our understanding of the geology and the potential to find new veins and ore bodies on the patented claims, we strategically staked the BLM lands to make sure that we covered off the potential that we see on those lands as well. A significant opportunity on our property is the stockpile. This historic stockpile we estimate to be at least 1 million tons of unprocessed material. Several years ago, we wanted to look at the potential of that stockpile, and we conducted a comprehensive sampling program. And the results of that program were very, very good. And we determined that there was significant value in silver, lead, and zinc in that stockpile. With new technology, we have an opportunity to extract value from that stockpile and provide some cash flow for our shareholders. And the technology that we're looking at is ore sorting technology. And a particularly leading technology is the TOMRA dual X-ray ore sorting system. TOMRA out of Germany has 200 of these systems worldwide. So it's an established and proven technology. And what we did was we took a reasonable sampling from our stockpile and we tested it at the TOMRA facility with their system. The results were impressive. We ended up enhancing the grade on the silver by 6 to 7 times and on the lead and zinc 7 times. What this means is that we can take that stockpile, crush it, put it through the ore sorting system, and our plan is to have dual systems, one for smaller sized rock and one for larger sized rock, and end up with a product that is, say, 10% of the original mass. And what's significant about that is that it makes it very economic. TOMRA has been working to continually improve their system, and they are leading in this area with their new AI Obtain. And what that is using AI software to learn, even on a project as they're processing material, to increase their recoveries even further. So it's a very exciting time for us because with modern technology, we have an opportunity to take an asset and get value for our shareholders from that stockpile. One of the most impressive aspects about the Clayton Silver Mine is really that it was never explored properly. There's all kinds of potential around the known structures. And the reason for that is that the old timers just followed the veins. And we know from the records that around the north ore body, there's still ore that was proven through drilling and has not been removed from the mine. There was a limited amount of exploration drilling done on the property. One of the holes that was drilled in the 1960s drilled through a 20-foot intersection at the 1,425 foot level that graded over 4 ounces silver per ton and in excess of 5% lead and 5% zinc. This shows that there's a lot of potential as this property is open to depth, it's open to the north, and it's open to the south. There's a portion of the south ore body that we have discovered was not ever mined, and so that's also available for future mining operations. What we see is that with very little exploration, there's the opportunity to add a lot of resources to this property. And that is the significant upside for our shareholders. The property has huge potential for adding resources through finding additional veins and ore lenses through exploration drilling. Very little of that was done historically, and the geology supports that there should be many, many other vein structures that were not previously looked for. And so we think that through drilling programs, starting with relatively shallow drilling around the known ore bodies is a low-risk way to add resources, and then move into deeper exploration following up that deep hole that I mentioned previously. So that is the big upside for our shareholders. to just add resources through drilling.